things. How are you settling in with the Dracthyr?
I definitely still don't really like them visually very much.
Yeah, I agree.
I am still very I'm still concerned with their kind of, because I've been thinking about the fact that they're obviously, tied to just being just being Dracthyr, just evokers. And I feel like I understand why they're doing that, but I feel like that's definitely an easy problem to solve if they wanted to. Because I don't really mind too much of like the looking not like Draconids before, because obviously, I'm sure there's lots of people like them, some don't. It's just going to be a bit of basically not really a big concern for me. It's more the fact that it's the gameplay side of it, where
Gotcha.
The Dracthyr would be very, like a Dracthyr warrior is a really cool thing to be. I understand why they've said it, but the reason they've said it, the same reason to say everything, is they've made it up. They've made up this reason, and obviously they're sticking by their guns, and that's fair. But they made up the reason, so it's not a great reason to me to like lock people out of the fact of oh yeah, you've wanted like Draconids and to be this big beefy warrior dragon for so long. Here's a dragon that people have been calling more twinkish than beefy big boys, and you can't be warriors.
Knowingly not delivering what the player expectation is.
Yeah, and then the same with evokers, or like Dracthyr, evokers not being able to be other races, and you're like, sure, you're saying it's because other races don't have tails, other races don't have wings, other races don't have reasons to have this power. That's never stopped you in a lot of other occasions. Demon hunters don't have wings. They grow wings when they glide. They can metamorphosize. So it's like, if you really wanted to, you could just say, oh yeah, there's a magically spawned tail for tail attacks. You can just breathe for whatever. You magically spawn wings for wings. And obviously that's kind of playing a weird semantic game. But it is, to me, it's that thing of they've tried to explain why they haven't done something without telling the truth of why they haven't done it, which is, this is our creative decision. We're sticking by it. Also, the animation work would be too much, stuff like that. That's all fine. It's just I wish they kind of said that. But yeah.
Yeah.
It's a very minor thing, but it's sort of...
it's a challenging thing where they knowingly did deliver not what they knew people would have expected or really wanted. That's one component of this. I do think that the more you integrate the class and the spec, there are unique opportunities. There's certainly unique opportunities with their animation kit.
Yep, for sure.
And all of that. That certainly means that right now, on the top of our head, we have all the downsides. We've seen all the downsides. The only thing, or the main thing that we haven't actually got is what the potential upsides could be, and we'll only see those in gameplay. Like, if we actually just play this and its animations are blending together like brilliantly in the flow and just all of it's like perfectly evocative, then I guess we could see that. One thing, could you swap over to my monitor?
Yes.
So this hit the top of r/wow, and it was kind of unfortunate because the Twitter image was posted without credit. Oh no, there it is. Okay. There. Well, yeah. So maybe a link to his profile would have been better. But anyway, it's by, funny enough, the art director of Paladins.
Nice.
Didn't know that. And certainly in the art world, like doing a draw over of someone else's shipped work.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that's a ballsy move.
Yeah.
That's a ballsy move. There's certainly people who look down on that. I do happen to think that his draw over, his paint over is a humongous improvement. So I did want to talk about that just a little bit. The thing is, there actually are two different body types for Dracthyr.
Yeah.
It's just that the bulkier one really doesn't look that bulky. My understanding of this is, and it's something, I mean, if you kind of understand reptiles, sexual dimorphism in reptiles is not a humongous thing. I mean, not that typically has stopped Blizzard.
Unlike Torn and Draenei, like.
Yeah. Blizzard, though, they... I can't even use this. I think what their goal had been is to, like, have a more androgynous look because, no matter what their visage is, they're not, like, gendered in that way.
Yeah.
I think that, and maybe from Blizzard's perspective, they felt that if they offered something like this, that people would then, like, in their head code the body types in a certain way that isn't what Blizzard wanted. Yeah. But fundamentally, I think, what do the players want? Well, some players are going to just want a big, beefy dragon that's going to imprint you into the sofa.
Yeah, exactly.
That's maybe a wee bit harsh for me. That's a bit too much. I mean, I know you people on Twitter.
Jesus
I friggin'
Christ.
know you.
I mean, what was it? What was it? Denuser tweeted something about, based on the reaction to Dracthyr, we should have called this expansion Dragon Thirst. And you're like, you knew it ahead of time.
I don't know, Steve. We might need an updated Amazon wish list from you now.
Yeah.
Not joking, not even lying. I will take a Bad Dragon sponsorship, and I will try to make a comedic bit.
Yep.
If Bad Dragon, send me a crate of dildos, please.
Jesus Christ. Susan, don't listen. Susan, don't listen.
It would be worth it. It would be funny. It would be really funny. Anyway, to go to this guy's paint over. So, well, okay, so assumptions made on possible directives. Retain similar humanoid frame and easy to read player silhouette versus mobs and creatures. Somewhat more lithe build in order to stack cool armor on top of later. So this is like the base one, right? Now for some things, if you take a look here, pushing the form of the silhouette to give it a bit more of that chunk. And funny enough, that chunk, that's something you see in plenty of high-res's work.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to say it originates from Blizzard, but certainly Blizzard are the people who I think you could very much say pioneered and popularized that stuff in games. I think it's a widely successful art style. Obviously, indeed, I like a lot. I'm glad I was very stylized.
Yeah.
So in terms of the shapes, though, you can see that the torso, I mean, the shoulders feel pulled back. The front of the torso is a bit more pushed forward. We've got, I mean, just basically chunkier. It's kind of interesting, like the little C curve there to imply the wrist joint there. Volume to the back of the head, some thickness for that sense of power and strength. And I think this is really targeting some of the things that at a glance, some people didn't particularly like. For me, the tricky thing, the Dracthyr, even just looking at this one, I really like its head. And for the Dracthyr, like all of their heads, I think they're really cool.
It looks a little bit serpentine more in a way, without that like big bulky back bit. It looks a little bit more kind of Hydra-esque in a way.
There's a mix in the options that they showed off for. Like some are more draconic than others. I certainly think, though, this is feedback that Blizzard would get a lot of wins for if they were to maybe action in this feedback. I think it would be a way for them to deliver what their vision for this ranged caster is, but while still giving people, actually a few things, while still giving people some of what they want. I know some people want a big Draconid with a chest that would put Kyrikos Grizzly to shame in just how much of a muscly barrel it is.
Yeah.
But there's actually another reason I think why they should do this. Because there's no fundamental reason why these guys can't just pick up a staff or pick up a two-handed sword and be a warrior.
Exactly.
And I think if Blizzard in the future want to add some more classes to these, and that's very much been a possibility floated by Ian in interviews, then certainly there are some people where if they want to be a warrior, maybe they want to be a big ripped dragon muscle bro. And this will let them do that far more than the current chunkier body type. So look, feedback is for a reason, and they show us these things early, in some cases like this, to hype us up, but I think also for feedback. And I think if Blizzard really want to look like they're listening to the community, they could do that. I don't think that minor enough changes like this, like they're not really going to change the animations. They're not going to really... You could maybe say that the bulkier frame wouldn't be great for the animation kit of... maybe the animations are designed for that smaller frame. I don't know exactly. Yeah. I mean, but basically, I think it's worth the cost. They should do this. It will be way more extensible in the future. There's a comment there for just sliders for body customization from Migrib. Look, I agree with you on that.
Great idea.
The thing is, the WoW engine.
Yep.
One thing I've noticed is things are extremely static. They're static, pre-made assets. It's a bit like, what you call him in the Toy Story, the potato. Mr. Potato Head. Yep. You know, you have the thing and you bolt things onto it, but it's not like it's a super dynamic, modernly made thing in a Black Desert Online where you just... can slide and drag everything to do whatever, or even the EVE Online, back when they had 3D models for your character.
Yeah.
I was just kind of older with that. So, yeah, I just thought this was really good feedback. And, you could say, for sure, you could say that this is a more generic Blizzard design and all of that. You could totally say all of that stuff, but you know what? It has a core fundamental appeal, so I think they should do it to please their players.
Yep. And for balance, because usually I'm the one saying Blizzard should do things, for balance, I will say some of that can obviously boil down to the same thing as like the easy mode debate, where it's like, yes, but are you taking away resources by having them do this that they would rather use somewhere else? Just as a complete devil's advocate balance statement. It's a case of that's a little bit too much work and we don't know that. Maybe, I don't know. Something like that.
Yeah.
Something like that.
So there you go. Yeah, I don't really know if there's too much else to say. I guess on the thing of like resource use, it's like fair enough. Yeah. But this is also the new race you're adding, so if there's somewhere you want to put resources, it's kind of here. Yeah,
for sure. For sure.
For the other things then, this kind of came out in some of this other info mid-range.
Yeah, I believe Ian said that's like 25 to 30 yards.
Yeah.
As opposed to like 35 to 40. But it's designed to be like, the breath will need a slightly shorter range. Just so you're not, there's a hunter with a gun and a scope shooting and you're breathing fire that distance. That's a little bit absurd in a way. But you'd say they're going to try to balance it so it doesn't affect like the existing range clump. So you're not going to like suddenly need a bunch of hunters to stay at 25 yards when they could be 40. Stuff like that. It's just a little bit of a more... These will be at the front of the ranged pack.
Yeah.
As opposed to just one big clump at the back, which is, I think, an interesting kind of small, tiny change to think about. But I don't know if it's really super impactful.
Well, one of my favorite things to play is Red Mage right now.
Yeah.
And the core fantasy of going like in and out of combat is so cool for Red Mage.
Yeah.
I'm looking at this and just sort of thinking, okay, what's this? A forward, like, flying fire breath?
Yeah.
Do I use my wings to like kind of return to my original position?
That'd be cool.
Sounds cool. Yep. But I know also there's Fell Rush, Vengeful Retreat.
Yeah.
And that can be...
disconnected.
Yeah, that can end up being a bit funky. So I'd very much hope that would still work in a World of Warcraft. Yeah. Anyway, I guess I really enjoy Red Mage. And I kind of thought that for their DPS, sure, not melee attacks, but there's like almost a red maginess maybe in some of their abilities, and then closing the distance to like get your cone breaths, and I don't know.
Yeah,
sounds cool though.
See, I definitely think that's cool, but we have a small problem with how World of Warcraft works in terms of mechanic stuff, and that's a problem of, and this is the thing they faced with Holy Paladins, is this thing they faced with Mistweaver Monks, where it's like, oh yeah, you're Holy Paladin, you're melee. The game considers you melee, so if you're standing at ranged, a melee mechanic hit you, and that can shit all over your day. And that's a thing that they would kind of have to solve with that. And it's like, well, they would have to start thinking about, well, how much time do you spend in melee? Is it like a red mage where, I guess a red mage with a reduced melee combo, so you go in very quickly, get back out really quickly, and you have to make sure not to have that happen when you're, when a mechanic's happening? Is that like a portion of skill they want? Is that something the game communicates well enough for you to do? Or is it easier for them to go, fuck it, it's ranged? I guess that's some of the stuff they have to worry about, I guess, in a way that's, I think must be as frustrating for them as it is for us sometimes, where it's like they are limited in so many interesting ways because of how that classification works. They can't break the rules without it becoming a problem.
Yeah. Kind of going through what they look like then, like here's just a few different examples. Certainly, I maybe am just some edgy fucker, could just be that, but... I just find the colors work really well there. There's something about the body. Again, for me, it's just something about the body that doesn't do it for me. I think what it is the shape of the scales here being in these V's. I think that implies a sort of a form and a texture that for me quite works with the body style. Yeah. But maybe over here, there's something about these that I don't think the texture is stretched, but it almost feels like the texture is stretched.
A little bit of that, yeah.
So I'm not sure. I think it's just a few little things like that. Where I think these have a big win, though, is the heads. I think these heads are really cool. Like, more draconic here. Maybe like a little bit less draconic here. I kind of like the variety there. So I think the heads are really cool. For their visage forms, I think
a lot of interesting customization for sure.
They're taking just Demon Hunters and big on overdrive.
Yeah, definitely.
With these, so I'm sure there's a lot of things people will be able to make. Certainly, you give people a lot of colors and a lot of options, and I think some kind of crazy garish things could happen. But then I also think there's probably some people who'll be able to make like a really cool, between this transmog and stuff, just kind of like really nice themed up things.
Yeah,
certainly what doesn't then help is, okay, so depth.
Yeah.
And the problem here, it's like the FOV of the camera squeezes their face a bit. Yeah. I don't know if you've seen the GIF, but there's this GIF of, it's like a guy's face photographed using different, different lenses, basically, right? Different focal lengths, yes. Words are hard. And you just see, like, this guy's face, it's, like, super thin, and then it's, like, super thick and, squashed out. And it's all just cameras. And whenever you go into something like, say, Unity, and you're messing around with the camera, you could just zoom in on what you have there, or you could do a zoom in that involves tightening the FOV, such that what the viewport is effectively zoomed in. But it's different to just zooming in on the flat image, but then zooming in based on FOV. So I think there's something about the way the character customizer camera just kind of looks with their snouts. It's created, the Skyro? Yeah. Who's that? The Spyro, like there's the purple dragon, and then the one here, and just the various different memes. I think we'll cover. Yeah, there he is. Hello, Elijah Wood, OC.
All you have to do is turn them slightly to solve that problem, but I mean, it's not really,
Yeah. I think just interesting things in people's initial perceptions. Yeah. Anyway, that's the Dracthyr. I think that if they take on board some of the Paladin's art director's feedback, that we're basically on to what would have been a home run if they were presented like that initially.
Yeah.
Some people will still say, hey, they're not Draconids. That's not really what I want.
Yeah.
But other than that, I just think they should do that. I think it would be really the pragmatic thing to do. And I don't think it would take that much time. I really don't think it would take that much time to fix that up, unless there are some very fundamental assumptions in how some of their gear and things like that work, in terms of, say, layering on 3D objects to their bodies. Yeah. If there's two body types, does that make things more complex? I don't really know. I don't know their pipeline.